are now cutting back on the possibility of investment in that growth, sustainable growth, a social and inclusive growth for the whole of Europe. Thank you very much.
Grazie, Presidente Barroso.
Thank you, President Barroso. I now give the floor to President Van Rompuy. Thank you, President, and thank you, first of all, to all those who have said that I have defended a budget which, albeit at a lower level than in the Commission proposal, is nonetheless a budget which is informed by a strategy. This budget is at a lower level than the Commission proposals. Indeed, around the table, there's no dispute about that fact. There are some which want to take it still further, but that's another debate. When it comes to the level of the proposal, I don't think anyone wishes to take the proposals I've made to a higher level. So I've tried to work on a strategy and a philosophy here, and I've tried to identify a solution which strikes a balance between solidness and solidarity, because our union is founded on solidarity. Without solidarity, there is no union. And some times you see that cohesion funds and other funds demonstrate solidarity, but there is a counterparty here in terms of investment, so it's not a mere transfer. Solidarity means that we have to distinguish between a straightforward transfer, which is not the case under this budget, and what is intended to be assistance to those which are lagging behind somewhat in economic and social development and who are investing to try and make good that lag. So this is a solidarity instrument which needs to be preserved at a perfectly defensible level. We need to have a balance between what we now call consolidation of the budget and growth. I think we need to be consistent. You can't conclude a growth pact in June and go on to have a budget within the next few weeks or months which does the opposite of that. And that's why I have maintained this strategy and this philosophy. It's the 2020 strategy that we've already discussed right in the very first European Council that I organised in February 2010. So I shall stand by and defend this balance. I know I need the agreement of the 27 and the European Parliament. I was careful to make the point in my initial talks, and I think the point was made still more clearly by the President in the summit. For this balance, I'll be alone in defending it. Of course, I'll have the Commission President beside me, but he is not bound to carry responsibility for the final outcome. But looking at what I'm reading and hearing, I'm the only person to defend that balance, and you need to bear that in mind. I would agree with those who have quite correctly made the comment that I myself made when Mr. Verhofstadt was Prime Minister and debriefing the Belgian Parliament, that this is a budget of about 1% of GDP, and we're discussing right down to the wire 0.1 or 0.2% of GDP, and really I think it takes more than that to get me going. So I think we need to put this into context and take some of the drama out of the debate, but we do need to come up with a solution, and I shall certainly endeavour to do that. But let's not be caricatural either. I don't think there's been this clash between net contributors and net beneficiaries of funds, the net recipients under the EU budget. We haven't had that debate It's much more complex than that. I made the point in my introduction. Let's not try and distill this into a caricature image between rich and poor, because that's certainly not the case. I don't think we should sum up the debate to the effect that there are 27 defending the national interest and perhaps one or two not always in the room defending the European interest. It's much more complex than that. Of course, when you're Prime Minister or President of your country, you've got to stand up for the national interest. You've got to do that. It's not ruled out. It's not banned, as long as those interests fit within a comprehensive approach. And I think that's why we've heard these reminders of a European interest from the President of the Commission. Not everyone has forgotten that fact. It's something that we're duty-bound to recollect. We're not talking about 27 selfish people around the table and generous people outside the room. That sort of caricature is one I would reject. As always, reality is much more complicated than that. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you appealed to me to go back to the founding fathers, but that's not my aim. I'm aiming to produce a European budget for 2014 to 2020, which reflects the whole philosophy and strategy contained within the Commission proposal. Those who've criticised me for years, wrongly, that I was in hock to the big countries, are all against me, and I just remind you of that. Those countries are all saying the opposite now. So, in spite of it all, I do have to come up with a solution, and I'll do my utmost to arrive at a balanced solution which takes on board your concerns. Of course, it will be a compromise that we're putting together. That's what we're in the process of doing. But at the end of the day, I do hope this compromise will be a defensible one. And of course, we shall submit it to you, and we shall ask for your consent. Otherwise, all our efforts will have been in vain. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Van Rompuy, President Van Rompuy. I now give the floor to Mr. Martin. 1 minute, please.
Herr Präsident.
President. So Saul became Paul, it appears. And I can only repeat what I said earlier on. Why do so many Syrians